gets that much harder, but let's dive into it right now. There are a couple of big spreads, starting with the Rams. Once again, the problem is the Rams have been a huge favorite multiple times. I would bet that most people watching this do not have the Rams available. If you don't, now we go to the Bills. Bills are a big time favorite as well. So let's just get it started, Josh. What did you see when you looked at the top of the board?
So there are two monster favorites, Bills and Rams, that have a ton of future value. The Bills have Jacksonville and the Jets, the Falcons, I guess, coming up later. The Rams have a bunch of opportunities moving forward. Kansas City is still really good. They're at home against the Giants.
Are they?
Yes, they are. They are.
Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. They are. That's just what the answer to this is. They've got future value as well, but to me, it's very obvious who everyone should be taking this week. It really just depends on how many people are actually doing it. But Cincinnati Bengals on the road against the Jets, really big favorites. New QB in for the Jets, might be Joe Flacco, who knows. Cincinnati's like an 80% favorite. They have basically no future value to speak of. This is the team you want to get to if you have to use somebody, I think.
I don't love the spot coming off a ridiculously big statement win. The problem is the Jets are in a even worse spot at this point. You mentioned Zach Wilson goes down. The future value, we're going to talk about this in Survivor a lot more in these videos now. A lot of people use Cincinnati against Jacksonville on that Thursday night game, and they made that big comeback, and they ultimately won the game. Clearly, if you use them there, you have to be alive because you wouldn't be watching this video if not. So I don't mind that. I'm more prone to go to the Chiefs than you are, I think. They have to win this game. They're at home. I think it's a pretty good spot to get them. Let's go, as we always do, though, because I do think those are two good spots. Where would be the off-the-wall play?
Off the wall, I don't know.
I got one.
Arizona and Tampa Bay both work, but I think they both have enough value moving forward. I mean, Arizona's a 70% favorite here at home against the Packers. Tampa Bay's in New Orleans. I don't think New Orleans is very good. I'd say probably the Chargers at home against New England. Minus 250 on the money line right now.
It's true.
Oh, give me a minute.
We crossed 2,000.
What is up? This is the Awesemo Betting Show presented by BetMGM. Pete McCarthy with Ben Rasa on this Halloween. Are we pumped up for Halloween, Ben? You seem not to be too enthused about it.
Do I look like I'm pumped up for Halloween? No. I hate
You don't even have
Halloween.
one of your fun T-shirts on.
I don't
Halloween.
even have. I intentionally dressed down. Maybe on the next show we'll see what we can muster up here, but not gonna lie, not a big Halloween guy.
That's interesting though. So you don't like to dress up on Halloween, but on November 6th,
Yeah.
you'd be very comfortable dressing up.
I'm more of I zig when everyone zags. So this is the one day I don't dress up. We'll leave that to everybody else. But happy Halloween to all you people out there.
To
going
those
get
who
some candy.
celebrate.
Yes, exactly.
I got the little one, my daughter, so she'll be
There you
trick or treating, running around. She's dressed as Lightning McQueen. Are you a big Cars fan?
I'm unfamiliar with Lightning McQueen. Really am. Never heard of that one.
I was very unfamiliar with it until these past few months, and now I'm
Is
extremely
that movie
familiar.
or a show?
Was that?
Is that a movie or a show?
It is a movie, and
Okay.
I hadn't had a lot of experience with 2-year-olds until I had one, and they will just watch the same movie over and over and over and over and over. So you get very familiar with it. Not bad though, not a bad one. Give us a like, subscribe to your favorite childhood movie, throw it in there. Why not? And you can keep up with all of our shows, DFS offers, giveaways, much more. Once you do subscribe, hit that notification button to get alerts on when our shows go live. We are live every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Be sure to also check out today's free premium tools and data at awesemo.com. Today, they are NFL Week 8 top stacks, NBA player rankings, and NHL top stacks as well. Maybe the last weekend, we got all 4 major sports happening at the same time, on top of big MMA yesterday, college football yesterday. There's a lot happening right now. Ben Ross is a very busy man. He is stressed to the gills every single day trying to pump out content, hit some bets, studying up on this. It's a wild time.
It certainly is, but it's a great time of the year. One of my favorites. We got a great slate of games here. Some question marks, particularly in the last game that we'll get to with Dak, but really good slate. I like these games. Not as many. Last week it felt like every other game was a 15, a 20-point spread almost. We don't have as many of those today, and I like that.
Yeah, there are a few, though, which we will get to. I don't know. I've been underdogs all year, and this week kind of changing it up a little bit with the way the numbers play out. So, let's start it off with not one of those big spread games. Carolina, Atlanta. The Panthers, they've lost 4 games in a row. It's not the last stand for Sam Darnold, but it feels like it should be with the struggles he has had, benched last week against the New York Giants. The Falcons are favored by 3 here. And look, I knocked them last week for being a favorite against Miami. They ended up pulling it out, winning by 2. But still, you look what Atlanta has done this year. They beat the Dolphins, the Jets, and the Giants by a total of 12 points. And yet they're a 3-point favorite against the Carolina Panthers. I don't see it there. And you throw in that Carolina is bringing Stephon Gilmore back to the lineup, more likely than not, activated yesterday, and I think expected to be on the field today.
This is a weird game. Yeah, you mentioned Atlanta. At times, it's like, okay, this team looks all right. And then at other times, it's still same old Atlanta. They're giving games away. They did manage to get it done, but I think that speaks more to how bad Miami is right now than anything else. Then on the other side, yeah, Carolina, I think we all kind of realized that when they started really quickly, they were 3-0, but they weren't that good. Now they've clearly regressed. There's no doubt about it. And it starts with Sam Darnold. He's thrown 7 interceptions in his last 4 games, all losses. So I do think if he can limit the turnovers, obviously they still need Christian McCaffrey back long-term if they have any hope to be relevant. But against Atlanta in a game like this, I think that they can get by with DJ Moore and co. So I'm with you. It's hard to ever back Atlanta as a favorite, honestly. I know that's kind of a bizarre statement, but just the way that team operates, yes, I'm a fan of Ridley and certainly Pitts is emerging, but I would take 3 points with either team here. It just seems like a complete toss-up game. Give me the points.
Yeah, I don't think it's bizarre to say don't trust Atlanta as a favorite. Look, Tyler in the chat saying, no way I could back the Panthers. I get that. They look terrible, but yeah, how do you feel good backing the Falcons as a favorite either? And at least Carolina, they've shown an upside that does exist. The big win over New Orleans earlier this year, which you were all over. And even if you don't have the confidence that they are that team, they've still shown a lot more than the Atlanta Falcons have with the 3 wins they've pulled off over the course of this season. All right, let's get to one of the big spread games, the Buffalo Bills, and they have just decimated some teams over the course of this year. I'm sure they would love to do it to a division rival, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins, with all this stuff swirling around, are they going to trade for Deshaun Watson? Will they not? The reports now seem to be that they won't, but Tua Tagovailoa has to go out there and say, well, I don't feel unwanted, and this is kind of where Miami is. A lot of rumors around the head coach as well. Tough loss to Atlanta even after they came back late in that game. Buffalo favored by 14 points on their home field. And I guess the question is just, where the heck is Miami at? Even against a division rival, can they get up for this game, keep it close, or is this another Buffalo runaway, which we have seen time and time again this season?
Seen it time and time again. We saw it against the Miami Dolphins week 2. They lost 35-0, and that was at home. So I'm a little worried here. Buffalo seems like one of these teams. They are uniquely built to really blow out bad teams. We've seen that several times, as you mentioned. And Miami right now is flirting with the worst team in the league. Tua, I don't think it's all his fault by any stretch, but certainly he hasn't looked great. His cast of characters on the outside is everybody is injured outside Waddle. You've got Gesicki, but it's just you're trying to grasp at a couple of players, and then you look at the other side. This is a Bills team that is relatively intact. I know Knox is banged up, but other than that, it feels like the Bills are going to hang 30 plus points. Can Miami get to the 17, 20 point mark? I kind of think that's doubtful. So I wish 13.5 was still out there. I did see those throughout the week. I would still have to lay the 2 touchdowns. I don't think Miami can stay in any game against any good team at this point.
In Miami, they're 1-6, and there are a lot of teams. Well, we'll talk about the 0-7, I believe, Detroit Lions, and say, hey, they're plucky. It's a little different when you come in with expectations of being a playoff team like Miami did, and then you end up sitting there at 1-6 with major questions about your franchise quarterback. And this team was really built on its defense, and it's ranked 25th in defense according to DVOA. 26th against the pass. That's not a great combination against the Bills team that, as we've mentioned a few times, has just racked up major points. So although I've taken the points all year on all these games, I like the Bills today, -14. I could see them absolutely running away. One game I'll admit I don't have a great feel for here. The 49ers, a 4-point favorite on the road in Chicago against the Bears. Two teams that are not scoring a ton of points. Jimmy Garoppolo with another start for San Francisco. If they lose again, maybe then we are seeing Lance Fields take over, Trey Lance take over. Justin Fields has taken over in Chicago, has not played very well, 57% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 6 interceptions this far this year. The over-under, it's all the way down at 39.5. Not expecting a ton of points. We do have a spread over a field goal. What's your feel here? And I'll mention, too, Chicago is without Khalil Mack, and Akeem Hicks is questionable, so we got to find out if he'll be able to go. Those are 2 major pieces of this Bears defense.
Yeah, both teams are tough evaluations for me. San Francisco, they just seem to always have issues. They were at a lost season kind of with the injuries, and now just really can't get it going. Jimmy G has not been good. They've lost some tough competitive games. They also played a lot of really good teams, in my opinion. So I get some of that. They're going on the road against a Bears team that, talk about a tough evaluation. I mean, what do you really draw? Like, Fields turns the ball over 5 times last week. Obviously, you're going to lose by 1 million points to Tampa if you do that. If the Bears, and I know this is you never want to make if statements, but if they can just limit the turnovers and play this game straight up, I think they have just as good a chance to move the ball as San Francisco does. Both teams want to, I think, employ a pretty conservative run-heavy strategy. Khalil Herbert, not someone that I thought would be a real factor. I mean, the guy had 100 yards rushing against Tampa's front, 97 against Green Bay. Kind of like him to be pretty busy today. I may look at his props, in the department. He's shown the ability to kind of catch the ball a little bit, which has been surprising, but 69.5 rushing yards for Khalil Herbert. If the game stays close, I think that the Bears can win this game, and I think Khalil Herbert can push over that number.
Yeah, Montgomery goes down, and then Damian Williams was on the COVID list, so Herbert takes the opportunity. Now Williams is back, but Herbert has won that job essentially as the starting running back in Chicago, at least while Montgomery is out. What about the over-under? I mean, this is an incredibly low over-under here. I agree with you. I'm more of the thought, take the 4 points with the Chicago Bears being at home. When you see a number this low, it's easy to say, the Niners, the Bears, they can't score. They got to move the ball on the ground, run some clock. But when it's this low, you got to be a little tempted to go above it.
I mean, there's always that, totals are weird like that. I feel like there's a counterintuitive nature to it. When it's so high, it's like, well, all it takes is 1 turnover and it's going to come over. When it's so low, it feels the same way. Generally, I feel like you can't set them high enough or low enough. And these two teams, barring turnovers, and turnovers could be a factor, but I just don't see either of them sustaining long, big time drives. And I just look at it. Chicago's 30th in plays per game right now. San Francisco's 20th. Neither of these teams want to play particularly fast. It just seems like an ugly game. You get a couple field goals in there, and they are in Chicago. It's not exactly the ideal place to kick. I think you could have some empty drives here. I would actually lean under 39.5.
Hugo asks in the chat if there are any bets that we have the most confidence in for a newbie to the wager game. Well, we will have our locks coming up on the back end of the show And I promise I won't forget about the locks this week like I did last week. So we'll make that happen. Get access to all the great Awesemo Plus tools and content for nearly every DFS sport out there with an Awesemo Plus weekly pass for $29.95. This gives you full access to all the premium content and tools on Awesemo.com. That includes player projections, ownership projections, our premium Slack channel, lineup builder, and much more. And if you're a new user of Awesemo Plus Platinum, you can take advantage of the promo code we have for this show, which is Betting Show. All caps, one word, Betting Show. That's Betting Show for 25% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Ben gets like a 10% commission on that. So help out Ben. And you can find the link to activate this coupon in the description of the video below. Is that accurate? I'll be your agent. I'll represent you on this.
I think it's actually the other thing because I keep getting invoices from the company being like, I have to pay part of their. We use these promos because I pay the other 25%. So win some, you lose some.
Ben's helping you out. So
yeah,
Betting Show and Rob from Ben. Maybe that's the better way to go about it. I know there's a big game for you. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in Cleveland. 4-point spread here. I think you're expecting a close game between these division rivals. What do you make of Cleveland-Pittsburgh? Because I know you're this is a big one for you. This is what you're going to be focusing on in the 1 o'clock slate.
It certainly is, and this is the third straight week. We're in the rubber match. 2 weeks ago, I absolutely loved the Browns against Arizona. I thought that was a perfect spot. They were swiftly dismantled. They just didn't have it simple as that. Then they've had a quick turnaround on Thursday against the Broncos. I really liked them there. They were able to get it done. It wasn't pretty, but Case Keenum and co did enough. Now they've got their third straight home game, 4-point favorites over Pittsburgh. To me, this is another really good spot for Cleveland. They're getting significantly healthier, and that really, of course, matters. The offensive line, some of these tackles, Chubb, potentially Baker, not that I think he's great, but just to see where this team is at, they've kind of held it together, and they're going against a team that all year I think is teetering on the edge of being irrelevant. I don't think Pittsburgh is any good. Obviously, they've lost a couple key players. Big Ben is perpetually banged up. I don't think he's particularly good at this point. And the other thing, they are in the bucket. They're not Washington, but there's a bunch of defenses this year that I thought would be much better. Pittsburgh's is one of them. They're not a bad defense, but they're not the best defense in the league anymore, in my opinion. So I look at this game, I think a healthy Browns team at home, big time division game, getting guys like Landry and co back. I like them to kind of roll Pittsburgh today.
You think about a team with a good pass rush like Cleveland and Myles Garrett getting after Ben Roethlisberger, you know exactly where he's going to be standing. And he's not exactly, shuffling people off of him anymore like he was in his prime. I could see that being a big issue. I don't know. I look at 4 points. That's kind of a big total for Cleveland, considering how they want to play. They want to run the ball. We're not expecting a lot of points in this game. Over under of just 42. It is a division game. It feels like Pittsburgh, maybe they're not in desperation mode like we'll talk about with the Indianapolis Colts, but you got to be kind of getting there as they're trying to put it together. I will say when I have picked Pittsburgh, it's a painful watch. It is difficult to watch this offense that we have seen for years move the ball up and down the field, and they can't do much right now.
Both teams, I mean, I can speak from experience with the Browns, painful, very, very painful to watch that team. I really think they're getting more to their core identity here. Nick Chubb, the line, and I don't even like this prop, but I think it's a huge plus for the Browns. His rushing prop is 86.5 yards. So clearly the books are saying this guy is good to go. He's not going to be, that's a lofty line. That's Nick Chubb of full health. So I look at that and I think, okay, if you're going to tell me that Nick Chubb is going to get, and his rushing attempts line is 19.5, you're going to tell me he's going to get 20 carries on the ground today. I will take my chances. And I don't think that Big Ben and these guys, pending they can stop Najee, and I think they can, I think the Browns really put it to him today.
And when I tried to put a spread on this game blind, I ended up with Cleveland -4, which is exactly where the line is. So I'm not going to argue too much against you here, loving Cleveland in this spot. I will say the next game, I had a very different than the line ended up being. I had him as a pick 'em between Philadelphia and Detroit. And the Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite on the road. Now, look, the Lions are winless, and stop me if you've heard this before. They're a plucky winless team. They've been in the mix in a lot of these games, and we keep kind of waiting for them to get over the top. It hasn't happened. I mean, please, for Coach Campbell's sake, let his emotions drain out. He might cry if they win, in addition to what we've already seen this year. Philly kind of burned us a little bit last week. I do like Detroit getting 3.5 at home in a big way this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Detroit has, particularly with their coach, I don't know. I feel like he's used all his, every game is this like ridiculously emotional. You want to pace yourself, guy.
Yeah, it's Rex Ryan. It's
I mean,
every game is an emotional crescendo for now 17 weeks.
I just like, okay, and I really thought, like most people, that they were maybe trending upwards. Certainly they're not 0-7 worthy. We all know that, but man, they were awful against Cincinnati. Then they pull out all these genius moves against, I mean, I'm not saying just punt the game, but like you do that all against the Rams. The Rams are so good. You should have saved that for Philly, where you would have won the game with your fake punts and all these trick plays. I can't back the Eagles. That was my worst game last week. I like them against the Raiders quite a bit. The team is just really struggling. Miles Sanders finally got it going, and then he gets swiftly injured in that game, and they just look lost. Jalen Hurts, fantasy monster, but it's all in garbage time right now. I just look at this team. It's hard to confidently, it's kind of like the Falcons. It's not like I don't think the Eagles can cover this number, but I'm not laying points with them on the road against pretty much anyone here, including Detroit.
No, you can't feel good about that. What about the Lions to win? Plus 150. It's not a bad number. It's not, the big bonus you might have gotten if they beat the Ravens all those weeks ago and lost in the long field goal. But you got plus money here. I think this is an upset potential game for Detroit. I always like teams that are winless and still playing hard. Like nobody wants to be the 0-16, Lions
again,
right? Like you want to find a way to win at least that one, and then you can have the letdown game. But I feel like Detroit is kind of at that point, like, hey, let's rally up, make sure we win one before this whole thing falls apart.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, they're at home. We've seen them, like I said, they've played very hard. They've also laid some eggs. There's no doubt that they've been, non-competitive.
Well, they have no receivers. You don't feel confident about them scoring a lot of points.
It just, again, 3.5 is a really important number. Obviously, 3 is the most important number in football. So I look at it, and I don't mind plus 150 if you want to sprinkle. We had some questions about Scott and Gainwell. I like them. It's just tricky to know who's going to get the carries. I like Gainwell's receptions prop. That's one that Odd Shopper has identified as a really good value. You can go check out those ROIs there. And I see it. He should really fill in for the pass catching role. Miles Sanders can catch the ball as well. And so Gainwell should acquire all those targets since Sanders is hurt. I just don't know what else to say about this game. To me, it's two bad teams. Philly's got more upside in general, but week in and week out, it's hard to trust them.
All right, moving on. So that was a 3.5 point, and you got the big half there, and then you lose the half for our next game. Tennessee, Indianapolis, two teams that I've just hated this year. Do not have a good feel for them. Have not all season long. They thought they would be decent. They started off terrible, and then they've gotten better, let's say, in recent weeks. But it's interesting. Indianapolis, desperate for a win here. They are a 2.5 point favorite. Are the Colts good? Carson Wentz is playing okay this season, 17th among quarterbacks in DVOA. The Titans coming off huge wins in back-to-back weeks over the Bills and the Chiefs. Nobody really saw that coming, and Derrick Henry has just been unstoppable over the course of this year. So let me put it this way. How much do you look at desperation, even at this point in the season, and say that emotional edge, if you could find it, is important, or is that something you just throw out the window?
I mean, I'm sure it's a factor. It's just very hard to quantify. Like maybe that makes the team more nervous. Like, I don't know. I have no idea exactly what that does. The Colts, they have found something. There's no doubt about it. They've looked good. And I think it starts with Carson Wentz. It's truly baffling. I don't know who's categorizing his plays. Carson Wentz has 1 interception this year. I distinctly remember multiple interceptions. Like I can replay the plays in my mind. So I guess they classified those as fumbles, but regardless, he has been better with the ball lately. And you've got to give him credit for that. This spread has moved wildly. Indianapolis was a slight dog to open this line early. It has swung through 0. Now they're up to 2.5. I've had a good feel with Tennessee all year, not a good feel with the Colts. I'm going to go to the Colts side here. I think that the movement says it all. There's a cumulative effect. I think that you can only get up for so many games in a row like this. That is brutal. To Buffalo, to Kansas City, now to the biggest threat to you in the South. I don't think that Tennessee can sustain it. Colts, I'm not going to say crush them, but I would definitely lay the 2.5.
Yeah, I do like
Yeah,
Indianapolis
look at it.
in
It's
this
3
spot by a
now.
bit. Was that?
Look at that. Look at that right on our screen. Our man behind the glass, Chris Karen. It is up to 3 minus 115 right now. So clearly the
Wow.
Colts are taking a boatload of money.
Wow, that's up to 3 now for Indianapolis. So, yeah, if you jumped on it earlier in the week, that's right. You always got to check, right? You always got to
Yeah.
get up those early spreads sometimes. That's where you can find a little bit of an edge and something to jump on. Because, look, if we both like Indianapolis at 2.5, yeah, if you get plus half a point, it makes you feel a little better. You sleep a little better at night.
Yeah, no, those little, you think, what the hell is a half point's not going to matter. Add up, if you keep records, and you should, add up all those half points at the end of the year. It makes a gigantic difference in your win-loss.
Yeah, it's always fun when it's the end of the game and you're sitting there calculating how you need to win. Okay, I need the 2-point conversion, but they're not going to go for 2. So then I need the onside and this, and all of a sudden those little points, they matter.
Ask the Florida State backers yesterday about getting the best number, because if you had that game, thoughts and prayers.
And you can check out the numbers, of course, all week long with BetMGM, where you can turn big plays into paydays. And if you're a new BetMGM user, if you deposit at least $10 using the link in the video description below and make your first bet, you get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's 3 free months. Now, this gives you full access to everything we have to offer in DFS, in season-long fantasy football, as well as sports betting. New customers start with a risk-free bet of up to $1,000 upon first deposit. So join the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM. Offer valid in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and West Virginia. Terms and conditions apply. I like to do it like the end of the insurance commercials. You got the guy like talking super, super fast.
Soon, we're getting somewhere in this country. You will be saying offer not valid and rattle off some states, because the scale is tipping. We are getting there. More and more states are coming on board. And that is why, if you're in one of these new states, there's no better time to jump on BetMGM. That is the best value on the board today. There's no doubt about it.
Right. Connecticut,
yeah, new
now.
They don't have BetMGM, unfortunately, but they have other books, and you should take advantage of everything.
There you go. So get involved. Check out what's happening in your state. And I'm still waiting here in North Carolina, but we'll
we're broken. We've had sports betting for a while, but you have to physically go to the places that I would never drive to. So soon enough, we will hopefully get it here in New York.
Soon enough. Speaking of New York, the Jets hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, not in New York, in New Jersey, but whatever. They have lots of sports gambling in New Jersey. I mean, look at the numbers there. It's off the charts. Anyway, Jets getting 10.5 points. I had this as Bengals by 8, and I'm going to kind of go against myself, I suppose, because just looking at the Jets, they're starting Mike White at quarterback. He did lead the Jets on a couple of touchdown scores last week against New England. Of course, the defense gave up 54 points to the New England Patriots. And then you get a Cincinnati Bengals team that is one of the more explosive offenses in the league. Nobody's been able to shut down Jamar Chase. He has set a record for most receiving yards in his first 7 NFL games. I mean, this is where I just don't know how the Jets defense stops the Cincinnati Bengals and what they're able to do. I suppose if you want to make a case for the Jets, you're really just making a case against Cincinnati, right? Last week we were talking about, big measuring stick game for Cincinnati. Boy, did they ever step up and really throttle the Baltimore Ravens. But now is kind of that next step for a team that's trying to build a winning culture and figure things out. When you do have success, how do you handle it? Are you able to come back ahead of a big game against the Browns after a big win over the Ravens on the road and decimate a New York Jets team that doesn't deserve to be on the same field as you? That's a different kind of test now for Cincinnati, but aces to them for doing what they did last week.
Super impressive. Didn't particularly like them last week. Thought maybe they could win. Never like that. Never in a million years. I think they would just outclass Baltimore on the road. I could get myself into trouble here, though. I think that this is a real bad spot for the Bengals. I'm not going to lie. Similar to what we saw when Tennessee had to play the Jets in a sleepwalking game. It's not that the Bengals are not good. It's just really difficult to turn it around here. And you're playing a team that maybe this is off base. I don't think that Mike White is that much worse than how Zach Wilson was playing, to be honest. The defense has to hold up, but then I dig in to the numbers a little more. Both of these teams don't run a lot of plays. 27th in the league for Cincinnati, 28th for the Jets. I think it could be lower scoring. When it's lower scoring and you're getting this many points, 10 north of 10, I kind of like the Jets with the points here. I think that if they can limit the absolute, mind-boggling turnovers, that game just got away against New England. That happens. Cincinnati could do that to them, absolutely. But if the game stays somewhat reasonable, I think Cincinnati could be caught in a weird sandwich spot. I still think they'll probably just win on talent alone, but no chance that I want to lay 10.5 here. I would rather take the points with a severely undermanned Jets team.
Well, I will go at you for saying, Mike White isn't that big a difference from Zach Wilson. If the Jets believed in White, they're not trading a late round pick for Joe Flacco, who is unavailable to play today and will probably end up being their starting quarterback by next week while Wilson gets healthy. Mike White's not a prospect in any way, shape, or form as a quarterback. And this Jets defense is 29th in DVOA in the league, 28th against the pass. They'll probably have to play a lot of zone today to try to manage Jamar Chase and maybe frustrate Cincinnati. I get it with the Bengals where it's a trap game and it has all those telltale signs of flashing red lights. This Jets team is really, really bad.
They're awful.
And Tennessee's kind of a different team, right? They want to run the ball on you. They're sometimes a little harder for them to blow you out, though we did see them do it last week in Kansas City. Whereas Cincinnati, you get 2 big plays in the first quarter, and the Jets still haven't scored a point in the first quarter this year. You're up 14, and then you're not feeling very good about it.
So I totally agree that the way that Cincinnati is constructed, there's a lot of just absolute demolitions if they get on top, where the Jets are playing from behind and Mike White has to throw a ton. That's going to be a disaster. But I don't really care if the Jets lose by 11 or 50. What's the difference? And I think more often than not, that doesn't happen. They can, I'm not going to say lean on these made-up running backs, but I do think that Michael Carter and Ty Johnson can keep the game honest. They can keep the game methodical. And I guess with Mike White, we're going to see, from what I'm seeing, Zach Wilson might be back in a week or two. So why exactly, like, to me, Flacco's never going to play. And I don't really understand. Maybe I'm wrong about that. It just seems like Mike White would be the obvious option for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then Zach Wilson will just return.
I mean, hey, when you could bring in a fighting blue hen, I just think you got to make that move.
I respect that. I respect Delaware, but we're going to see. I do think, I know it sounds stupid because when you beat up a Ravens team, that's a real test. You said this, and I totally agree. There's also, Cincinnati has never, ever come off a week where people are talking about them being a serious contender. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. That's a whole different set of expectations. And I think that Burrow and these guys are clearly poised to handle it, but that doesn't mean that they are just suddenly going to blow every team off the page schedule wise. And I don't think it's going to be this week.
Yeah, was it 3 weeks ago? They were struggling with Jacksonville at home on a Thursday night. So we'll see here. I still like Cincinnati. I just can't get behind the Jets. But moving on. Rams, big favorite on the Houston Texans. This is the other big number on the board. 15.5 points on the road for Los Angeles. Kind of like Miami. You got to wonder where Houston's head is at. They traded away Mark Ingram. Brandon Cooks called it bullshit. Can't really blame him there. You're trying to win games. You're doing everything you can as a player, and the team, sends away the guy who's getting a ton of touches for you to New Orleans. Basically, just does him a solid to get him out of there. I think what's interesting about this game is, as bad as Houston's offense is, the defense is capable. They're 12th in the league against the pass in DVOA. So you're not going to see it, in the passing yardage overall this year. But when the game has been close, they've been able to hold back the pass a little bit. The Rams, they're another bully team. They can get ahead. They can put up a ton of points, but we've seen them play tight games with the likes of Detroit in recent weeks. Are you willing to lay 15.5 points on the Rams on the road?
No. This is probably the game I'd want to bet least, so I'll keep this very brief and save some time. I'm not going to lay north of 2 touchdowns with a Rams team that we've seen time and time again. They can blow out teams. They also can sleepwalk and still win this game. Houston's awful, but there's just no chance I'm laying 15.5. It's a straight pass for me.
Straight pass. All right. So next up, New England, Los Angeles. I love this game. The Patriots, if you remember, and Justin Herbert certainly does, blew out the Chargers last year, 45-0. And that was before, Mac Jones started throwing all these 6-yard slant passes and doing what he's done. Maybe the most impressive rookie of this class for whatever that's worth at this point. But the Patriots are getting 4 points in Los Angeles. You figure it's going to be half Patriot fans anyway, maybe more than that. I will say, Awesemo, you can check out the free betting tool on the website, awesemo.com. Loves New England and thinks it's a good bet, not only that they cover, but that they win this game as well. Not that they're over 50% to win, but that at plus 180, you're getting some value on that. I had this as New England as a favorite, and they're getting 4 points against the Chargers. Chargers, they had the big win against the Chiefs. Maybe it's not as impressive when you look back on it now. They laid an egg against Baltimore. What's your feel for this game, especially after what happened last year, Justin Herbert's absolute worst game as a pro?
Yeah, so I feel like that happens with New England sometimes. I don't take a
Yes.
ton from that, but I do think that I'm not as high on it as I think you and the projections are, but I also lean to the New England side, and it's simply because I think the distinct advantage is Damian Harris and the running game against the front of the Chargers. They're giving up 5.4 yards per carry. That's 32nd in the league, which is obviously terrible because there's only 32 teams. It's also 0.5 yards worse than the 31st team. Like, they are in a different stratosphere right now against the run. And I just worry that Damian Harris, coming off a game, he could add 200 yards rushing if they wanted him to last week against the Jets. His prop is 71.5. I like the over there. I think they lean on him. If New England starts fast, I think they have a real shot to control the game. Now, Herbert, he's got Keenan Allen, he's got playmakers. Eckler's going to play, but don't sleep on New England in the running game. I think if they can limit Mac Jones and just let him be a game manager, Damian Harris can lead them to an impressive road victory here.
And they're capable. And I understand you're talking about the prop with Damian Harris, and he would be the number one guy to look at. But we've seen it with New England over the years. They have a number of guys they can throw out there and run the ball with. They had multiple guys put up big days against the Jets. I think in DraftKings Showdown, they had 3 running backs in the optimal lineup. I haven't seen that too many times.
That's such a Patriots thing. Like, they do that. They got guys you don't even know are on the team. Stevenson was inactive last week. Keep an eye on that for this prop. That would be good for Damian Harris if he is once again. But regardless, they're going to have opportunities to run the ball here. And unless they really fall behind, I don't see them abandoning the run. I think they lean on that and keep this game very, very close.
And even the way that they have developed Mac Jones, it's like that Tom Brady 2002 Patriots offense where they're making smart throws. They're making it easy for the kid, giving him success, building up the completion rate. And it has worked for New England. They're not hitting so many bombs unless it's the trick play and the receivers are throwing it, but it's enough to get things done. As Ben mentioned earlier, Odds Shopper, it's changing the way you approach sports betting. You have to be using this in order to find the best line available, whether it is for an actual game, but also certainly with these prop bets. And Odds Shopper allows you to find your best bet in 30 seconds or less through its powerful filtering mechanism. Odds Shopper quickly delivers bets that you want to make right to your fingertips. You can click on the link in the description of the video to head over to oddshopper.com and check out its innovative e-commerce inspired platform right now. There's no reason not to at least give it a look. So check it out and start making better bets today. The Seattle Seahawks at home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Geno Smith giving it another shot. In Geno's defense, I feel like I've been trying to rally up Geno Smith here. He went up against 2 pretty good pass defenses in the Steelers and the Saints. Now they're giving 3.5 against a Jaguars defense that is the worst in the league against the pass. Can Seattle finally muster it up a little bit? And this is certainly a desperate spot for Pete Carroll's club.
Yeah, got to have it. I think they'll be better. Geno's passing yards prop is still just 220.5, which is somewhat pedestrian. I think he'll get an uptick. He's just got to find a way to get Lockett a little more involved. They've had chances. They can't really connect. But you mentioned the Jaguars are bad. That team, I know they've looked a little better at times, but they still have serious dysfunction, particularly on defense. I think both teams can have success, kind of like the over, actually. Lawrence, they're getting him involved. His rushing prop is 21.5, so I think he could be a dual threat today. Both teams are pretty bad at this point. I think Seattle does ultimately find a way at home. It would be stunning to see them drop another home game. Don't like laying 3.5, but I'd do it if I had to.
That's a tough spot for a rookie, right? Trevor Lawrence walking into
Yeah.
Seattle, and maybe it's not the 12th man we're accustomed to seeing because they're not going to be quite as jazzed up for this version of the Seattle Seahawks. But still, if they're ahead late, I mean, it's going to be loud in that spot. That's always a challenge for a rookie quarterback. I like Seattle to cover the 3.5 there. Weird game, Denver, Washington. Both these teams expected to have good defenses. The defenses have been terrible for both of these teams. Washington with really I don't even know if you want to say a fluky game or what you want to call it, but all those goal line opportunities against Green Bay, and they came away with like 3 points. The Broncos are a 3-point favorite, one of the better home field advantages in the NFL. I like Denver here, even given the field goal. What do you make of this game?
That is another bad game. And yeah, it's true. Even though I will say that Washington got screwed by a stupid rule where Taylor Heineke tried to dive into the end zone. Apparently you can't dive as a quarterback because that's just not going to fly anymore.
That swung some picks last week.
That's a tough one. I watched that live and I was rooting for Green Bay, but you mentioned Washington's defense is atrocious. Bridgewater should really have some success here. He's got Sutton. He's got some weapons. We'll see what's up with Judy, but it's hard to back Washington right now in any capacity. They're just really banged up. Gibson looks like a shell of himself. I know he's been playing, but he just really hasn't been effective. You got McKissick as the change of pace, but when I look at this, one of the better home field advantages. It's a tough place to play. 44.5 feels about right. Denver -3 feels about right, but I do just lean to that side. To me, they just have less questions across the board. I expect them to just move the ball pretty well. And if McLaurin doesn't have a big day, I don't know exactly how Washington keeps up.
Well, Taylor Heineke, it's been a roller coaster with him, and he's been one of our favorites, I think, to watch over the course of this year, even if it is certainly frustrating at times. But it seems he will be that starting quarterback in Washington going forward, even when Ryan Fitzpatrick gets healthy. 2 games to go. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. The Saints getting 4.5 points at home. New Orleans, I feel like everyone focuses on Jameis Winston, who hasn't been turning the ball over all that much, and the offense isn't what it was with Drew Brees. Fine. Saints have a terrific defense. They really do. We know the Bucs are a little banged up. Antonio Brown's going to be out. Seems Rob Gronkowski might come back, but Levante David, Richard Sherman, Gronk are all questionable in this game. That's a lot of points to be getting, especially when you consider New Orleans really played well against Tampa Bay last year, blew them out in 2 regular season games, had the lead until late in the playoff game between these two. 4.5 feels like a lot. We have seen Tampa Bay blow some teams out, but maybe not of the quality of New Orleans.
It's one of the few games that I've already bet before the show. I bet New Orleans this morning at 4.5. It is down to 4. I like that. It's just a team that I think is uniquely built to handle Tampa. They've seen them twice, in years past, obviously. They're familiar with them. And I do think that the Saints are a pretty wide range of outcomes team. We saw them get decimated by Carolina, no show in that game. We've also seen them look really good. You mentioned the back end, Lattimore and these guys. They can slow down Tampa. And finally, I don't know why this is a thing, but we've clearly seen that they realize that Alvin Kamara needs upwards of 10 targets in these games. He is not going to be able to run against Tampa's front. Don't waste his touches up the middle. Get him in space. He is a serious problem, and that is why they beat Seattle. He had 10 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown. I think they employ a similar strategy. They are a little healthier on the outside. I know Traquan Smith didn't look good in that game, but I still think that they have the advantage against the Tampa secondary, which is just bad. 2 very competitive teams. Give me 4.5. Give me 4. I still like them at that number.
When Traquan Smith did turn around and look for the ball,
that's really what he's missing. Just looking is a big part of catching the ball.
We saw in the Cardinals game on Thursday night too, right? With AJ Green, he's blocking it at the goal line. But anyway, I'm with you. We agree on this game. New Orleans, that's a lot of points to be getting at home, even against Tampa Bay. Is there like a Tom Brady premium, you think, with some of these lines where they just know the public's going to back Tom Brady in these Bucs?
I mean, I also think there's a product of some teams are unique. Buffalo has this. Tampa Bay, when they're up, they murder teams because they keep throwing. And I think it inflates the lines. Like, just because they beat teams by 30 points, that doesn't make you more likely to beat good teams, in my opinion. It just makes you more likely to crush bad teams. So I think Tampa gets artificially inflated. because when they get on top of teams, they don't stop. I don't think that's going to happen at all here, so I don't worry about that.
One game to go, our lock it up as well. Give us a like, subscribe. Make sure you're here every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, to be live. You get involved in the chat. You got player prop questions, whatever it is for Ben and I. We're here to answer it. We'll mix it in as part of the show. So make sure, again, subscribe, hit that notification button so you get alerts when we do go live. We're here every Sunday morning. And if you missed the show live, you can check it out on demand. Find it on the Awesemo Odds channel. Dallas, Minnesota, Sunday Night Football. I looked at this line. I'm like, how is this line? The Cowboys are getting 3 points in Minnesota. And then the injury information has been kind of trickling out. And it's all right. Dak Prescott, he'll figure out a way to play. He'll figure out a way to play, even though it's questionable. Hasn't been practicing in full this week. And now this morning, the reports are, hey, it's realistic that Cooper Rush could start this game tonight. There are people in the Cowboys organization who believe that Cooper Rush will start this game tonight. Obviously, it's a pretty big swing going from Dak Prescott to Cooper Rush. It's hard to really look at this game without having that information. Where do you want to go? If you had to bet this game right now, are you assuming Prescott's playing? Are you not? I mean, that's really the biggest factor in where you're finding value here.
So to me, I think that the line is established right now that Dak is not going to play. So if I liked the Cowboys and I was okay with Cooper Rush, I would bet it right now, because you either get Cooper Rush, and I don't think that hurts the line that much, or Dak plays, and now you've crushed the line because it will move in the Cowboys' favor. I don't know if it would be wise to do that at this point, because we really, they've been somewhat coy. It didn't seem like a big deal. And now it seems like Dak is trending in the wrong direction. So I look at the game. It's hard not to like Minnesota. I feel like you've been given a distinct advantage and you should be able to get it done. But at the same time, we obviously have the biggest question mark on the entire day. So we got to keep an eye out to get more information.
And I think one thing I noticed between these two teams where there is a mismatch is within the running games. No surprise, Cowboys, very good running team offensively. As good as the Vikings defense has been this year, they haven't been great against the run. 24th in the league against the run in DVOA. And on the other side, the Vikings, while you think Dalvin Cook, he puts up some yards, they haven't been efficient running the football either. And the Cowboys are able to establish the run and try to win in that way. Maybe they can then be opportunistic on defense, try to force a mistake. The other thing that jumps out, Kirk Cousins just hasn't thrown picks. I couldn't believe how few interceptions he's thrown. Going back to last year, his last 16 games, he's thrown like 4 interceptions. It's pretty significant what he's been able to do in holding on to the football. You got to give him some credit.
Yeah, it's like Carson Wentz. I think in your mind, it's worse than it is if you really look at the numbers. So not a game that I'm going to be betting anytime soon until we get news with Dak.
Yeah, let's find out a little bit more. All right, lock it up. I love New England here. I think that they go to LA. They beat the Chargers straight up. I love getting the points. I feel great about that game. That's my number one here. What are you locking up today?
Before I do, I want to say, Chad, as always, we appreciate you guys hopping in. We are over 2,000 subs. We're going to keep it going. Hit that like button on your way out. And in the comments, let us know your lock it up. We want to know what game. Maybe we didn't see something. You got a good angle for us. You know where I'm going. The Cleveland Browns at home once again. Third time is the charm. I really like this spot. I think Pittsburgh is kind of a sinking ship. The Browns are getting healthier at the right time. They have to have this game. And I think they will get it done. Nick Chubb, Baker, they do enough today and they roll.
All right. So we keep an eye on Cleveland, on New England throughout the day. And we appreciate you joining us. As Ben said, let me echo that. Appreciate you guys active in the chat, getting involved there. We'll be hanging out for a couple of minutes. You have some questions, things you want to mix in, and certainly something that we will do going forward. So thanks for joining the Awesemo Betting Show, presented by BetMGM on the Awesemo Odds channel. Now, of course, we have multiple channels. The Awesemo Fantasy Football channel and the DFS channel as well. DFS channel is going to have a lot of content all the way up to lock. The NFL Deeper Dive starts at the top of the hour, and you got live before lock after that. Ben, what are you on today? When we see you again? You'll on all of it?
You'll see me in 10 minutes over on the Awesemo main channel. Be ready to go in full costume, of course, because I love Halloween on that channel. Hate Halloween here. Love Halloween there. So stop on over. We got a great show ahead.
You're shorting us here. I see what it is. All you got to do is put on a wig and you'll be ready to go.
I know.
For Ben Rasa, I'm Pete McCarthy. Appreciate you guys joining. Happy betting.